Hi folks, my name's Chuck Newt, and I'm with Winking Pig Barbecue, and you're watching another episode of Chuck's a Cookin'. And tonight we are featuring ham and beans. So I was at the grocery store this afternoon, and let's just say 2 days ago I was outside in my short sleeve shirt, and if you see my fire management video, which you can find a link to or a tag to right up here in the corner, you will see where I was outside in a t-shirt. Well, 2 days later, today, I came past the church electronic sign out there. It says 38 degrees on it. So needless to say, it's gotten quite chilly. So I was at the grocery store on the way home, and I was looking around and looking for some inspiration on what I might want to do for dinner tonight. And I was standing in the, of all places, the smoked meats section of the grocery store. And I got to looking to see what they had in there. And so I found a package of jowl bacon. And I like to use jowl bacon in ham and beans. In this case, it's not going to be exactly ham and beans, because you can use any kind of cured meat in your beans to help season them, and it can be jowl bacon, it can be regular bacon, it can be ham hocks, it can be pork neck bones. All kinds of stuff can be used to season your beans with, and all can be used very successfully. But tonight I'm going to show you, or actually it's still today, but for tonight's meal I'm going to show you how I go about making ham and beans. Now there are two methods, and one is the long method and one is the short method. And since I'm going to be making these for dinner tonight, this is going to be the short method. Now if I was going to do it in the long method, what I would do is I would take my beans and I would soak them in salt water overnight, and the beans would absorb some of that salt water and kind of brine them, so to speak. And then I would drain them out of the salt water prior to actually cooking them. But the beans would, as they are sitting in the water, they would, absorb in the salt water and soften somewhat, and actually shorten the cooking time. And in my own personal opinion, that is the preferred way to go about it. So at any rate, we're going to take the short method because it's going to be for tonight's dinner. And so this is going to go into my beginning cooks list of recipes here, because this is a very simple recipe. Anybody can do this. If you can boil water, you can make ham and beans. So let me get turned around. Let me show you what we're going to do. Alright folks, so what I've got here is I got this package of jowl bacon that I was telling you about. And so we're going to get it out of the package. This is a, let's see, this thing weighs 1 1/3 pounds of jowl bacon, fresh from the grocery store. Now, why do I prefer a cured meat? I just like the flavor better. Now, as I told you before, you can use ham, bacon. Let me get rid of this. Okay, now on this jowl bacon, it's actually still got skin on here, and I'm going to cut that away. You don't have to. In fact, some people prefer it with the skin on. And while you're sitting there saying ooh, if you've ever eaten a package of pork rinds from the grocery store, snack pork rinds, you're eating pork skin. And I've eaten them many times. So we're just trimming this away. Trying not to take too much of the fat, because fat is flavor, which is kind of the purpose of the pork. Well, want to eat pork too, but one of the purposes of having the cured meat is you want it for the flavor. Now, I'm going to dice this up, put that out of the way. I'm just going to slice it and dice it. So there you go, that's pretty good looking bacon. But it's not cut in as thin as strips as what you would get like packaged bacon. You could definitely use packaged bacon to do this. A lot of times though, I will use if I can't find the jowl bacon, I'll use ham steak. And sometimes I will brown it prior to putting into my beans. Again, it just helps develop more flavors. Now this does not have to be a real fine dice at all. And I'm just going to put this right into my pot here. And you could also go ahead, you could if you want, to help develop your flavors, you could actually brown or lightly fry this bacon prior to putting it into your beans. Now I got 2 quarts of just plain water over here. We may end up having to add more water as it cooks and as the beans absorb water out as they cook. Okay, so I'm going to take about 1/4 of an onion here. This is strictly going to be for flavoring purposes. Into the pot it goes. So, what else are we going to put into our pot? We are going to put in, what I've got here is 1 teaspoon of Tony Chachere's. I got 1 teaspoon of salt and 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper. And that's all going into our pot right there. Now, we can always adjust that upwards, but we can't take any out. Now I've got one package here, 1 pound package of kidney beans. This recipe will work with any style of beans. When I was growing up, the family always used either navy beans or Great Northern beans. But I've found that for me personally, as I've been cooking myself, I prefer the kidney beans because they're a very meaty bean, and I like that in my beans. So into the water they go. I think that's a 3-quart pan that I've got here, and you can see that really kind of filled things up in here. I'm just going to stir it up a little bit. Yes, you could use a spoon, but it's my food and I can use my hand if I want to. So, and I did wash my hands before I started all this. I'm not afraid. Alright, that's going to help dissolve the salt and whatnot into the mix. And we are going to go from here. And we're going to move this over here onto the stove, and I'll be right with you here. Okay, so here are our beans. Trust me, there's beans down in there too. You're seeing the onion and the meat kind of floating around, but there are beans down in there. Now we're going to bring this to a boil, a good boil, and putting a lid on it will actually help bring it to a boil faster. And so we're going to bring it to a boil, and we're going to turn the heat down a little bit on it. And we will know when the beans are done when they begin to, well, first of all, they're going to grow as they absorb water, and then eventually they'll grow to where they split the skins on them. That's when you know your beans are ready to go. So we'll bring this to a boil, and I'll be back with you in a few. Okay, so once it starts to come to a boil, you need to watch it a little bit. You see how much this kind of filled up this pan? I have not added anything more to it. And already these beans are starting to expand. This foam is created by proteins in the water, and probably mostly from the jowl bacon meat. Although here later, as these beans begin to expand and as they pop open, then it's going to start putting starches and whatnot like that into the water, and that will actually thicken our soup beans here. Okay, so now then what we want to do, we want to turn down our heat just a little bit, and we're going to simmer these beans for a while. In fact, it's probably going to take a couple hours at least before they're good and ready. So let's see. Right now it is 4:45, and we'll just see where we end up at, where I declare the beans finished. Now they're going to continue to kind of boil and simmer here, and that's quite alright. But you do want to turn down the heat underneath. Maybe you want to crack that just a little bit. That'll help prevent it from boiling over while if you're not Johnny on the spot or Jane on the spot, and kind of let the pressure out of the pot. At the same time, the steam's going to condense on the lid and run back into the pot and prevent you from running your pot dry. We'll just play it along. We may end up having to add more water as the beans continue to absorb the water out of the pot there. Now, if you can see down in there, we still are at a very a slow boil there. Okay, so we'll be back. Oh, well, let me go ahead and tell you. About every, I'm going to say 15-20 minutes, check on your beans. Give them a stir. It's not going to hurt anything. Okay, so it's now been 2 hours. And I'm going to turn the heat off on this. You can see it's boiling right now. It has been 2 hours that these beans have been on. Now, I'm going to try to close in here so you can see a little better. And you can tell, maybe here, let's see if I can get them. Maybe right there. See how the beans are split and open? That's what you want to see. Those beans split and open like that. That tells you your beans are done. Now you see also that your broth in here no longer looks like water. And tomorrow these beans will even be better than they are today. Let me back out of here. So there you go. That's our pot of beans. Boy, it sure does look good. Now, one thing I want to tell you. As you were cooking your beans, I hope you were tasting your broth a little bit to determine whether it might need more salt. Mine absolutely does not need more salt. It's perfect just the way it is. I haven't added a thing since I originally made the pot of beans. That being said, the Tony Saturies I put in here. If you have a sensitive palate, you may want to skip on the Tony Saturies because, now first of all, it does have salt in it, but secondly, it can add some spice to your meal. And if you have a sensitive palate, it may be more than your palate can handle. And so in that case, you might want to make sure you taste it, and you may need to add some more salt. But here on this one, I do not need to add more salt. I'm going to let this sit for about a half hour just to cool down because it just came from boiling. And while I like hot food, boiling is a little too hot for me. And this pot of beans is not going to cool down that quick. So, we'll be back shortly. Okay, so this meal, including the rest, has taken about 2.5 hours. So here we go. Give a little stir around in there, and those look wonderful. Like so. Man, that doesn't get any better than that right there. Okay, so follow me over here. Alright, so where I come from, when you have ham and beans, cornbread is an absolute necessity. And a lot of times, most likely you're going to have fried potatoes with it. But it would also go great with collard greens. You've got your ham and beans here. You might want to put just a little bit of fresh onion on the top, like that. If you're me, I want to put a little hot sauce here, like so. There. Get yourself a spoon, and you're all set. So there you go. Now it's that time of the video for me to take this over here and give it the taste test. So follow along. Okay, folks. Well, I'm here to tell you that not every meal has to be complicated in order to be so very good. Let me tell you. Now, I told you I've got the cornbread here. I made a video while I was making these beans. I made a video of the cornbread. It's homemade cornbread, and so you might want to check that out. And there'll be a tag up here in the right-hand corner. So it is that time. Boy, that is so good. Man, that jowl bacon just really sets it off. I'll tell you, if you want to lean it down a little bit, I'd recommend cutting up a ham steak rather than jowl bacon with fat in it. So, there you go. Folks, I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I've enjoyed bringing it to you. And if you like what you see, do me a favor, hit like and subscribe down here. And stay tuned. There's always more to come. And guess what I'm getting ready to do? Thanks for watching.